Mayor Adams from New York and his district attorney, Alvin Bragg, have been facing heavy pressure to actually do something about the individuals involved in the migrant attack, the mob attack on the two NYPD police officers that went viral a couple of weeks ago. And we are aware that some of them, and a lot of them actually, a lot of the participants in the video were arrested. Many of them were released ROR with no bail and went on to, flip the bird and make more viral videos out of their complete disregard for our legal system, for our law enforcement, and for our way of life. They're in the country illegally, and a few of them decamped out of New York and went into Arizona and other areas out west. So, in light of that, there have been some really serious statements that have been made. We covered the governor, Kathy Hochul, making statements about, possible deportation. That was enough to get them back on their heels. They had to rise to the occasion. And so we've seen soft on crime Manhattan DA Bragg indicting 7 of the migrants in the Times Square attack. He did let some of them go without bail, and so they're trying to make this up. So take a look at this. This is them approaching the microphone, trying to calm the media down, trying to calm down individuals who live in New York City who are concerned about further criminal acts by these men. And they want you to feel calm about this. Take a look.
Well, first of all, you both know, and anybody following this story, everyone knows the DA has been taking a lot of heat in this case. Now, earlier this week on Tuesday, he announced that one of the migrants had been indicted. Now, today, the announcement that 6 more migrants have been indicted. Both the DA and the mayor making that announcement today. Go ahead and take a look at this video here. Now, DA Bragg saying that investigators have been poring over the video, the surveillance video, as well as police body cam video, and they have been interviewing witnesses. 4 of the migrants who were charged and then released without bail, where all of that controversy surrounded, well, they have now been indicted. 2 others who are still not in custody have also been indicted. One of them was originally taken into custody by the NYPD, but then later released. Now, on top of this, investigators are still trying to find 3 other suspects, and they are hoping that the public can help identify them. Now, the guy in the red jacket is described as one of the worst offenders. DA Bragg has been strongly criticized since January 27th by many in law enforcement as well as politicians and others for his handling of this case. But today, he is once again defending his actions, and the mayor is continuing to support him.
It's our obligation to apply the facts to the law as we know it at a point in time. That's what we did. That's what we will continue to do going forward.
Yeah, they're going to support each other. I mean, it would be useless for the two of them to turn on one another because divided house never, stands. They're more easily taken down if they're one-on-one. If they stand together and act as if their actions are justified, above board, and make sense to them, then it's easier for them to strategize behind the scenes and try to fix their, at first, very lax response to what has become a symbolic moment against the stacking up of illegal aliens in New York and other places. It's not just New York that is having a problem housing and controlling the migrants that are overflowing in the city. But I think the other part of it is that there's been a lot of complaints on the right side of the political aisle and by some centrists. There are some independents in New York and Chicago and other big cities that have said, look, letting people go when they are multiple time offenders, you look at their rap sheet, they've been in here multiple times before, sometimes dozens of times, and they come in and they have a violent attack or a robbery, and they're literally standing before you, not as a first-time offender or a 3-time offender, but they're literally a repeat offender. This is their career. This is their lifestyle. And you still extend to them this kind of criminal justice reform friendly new posture that Democrats seem to love so much, which is they had a rough childhood and we should give them another chance, even though they've had 24, 54, 84 chances before. This then has come under heavy scrutiny because it was previously framed as a right-wing fever pitch, fever swamp. The people on the right just hate, and then, dot, dot, dot. You fill in the blank with whoever the cause du jour is for the day. But now it's starting to actually make a little bit of sense. They're looking at what people on the right have said, and I hate that characterization of people who are telling the truth and just asking for common sense. You don't have to be a card carrying, MAGA hat wearing Republican to think that repeat offenders should not be released ROR, or if the accusation is they hit someone over the head with a brick in a robbery or kicked an old granny down the subway platform stairs, that somehow that person is as worthy of leniency as someone who they, are in possession of a tiny bit of marijuana and it's their first time ever being pulled over or prosecuted for anything. Those are worlds apart. And so all crime is something we should try to deter, but there are circumstances in which a person can be given a proverbial slap on the wrist and it's enough to get them back on the straight and narrow. This is not that situation. The first criminal act these individuals perpetrated on the American people and citizens and taxpayers of this country was entering the country illegally. And they're in the process, with the help of the Democrats, of doing even more to harm America's way of life. We respect police. And gosh, is it even okay for me to say that now? When I say we, does that actually represent a majority of Americans? I still believe it does, but we have an issue here when we're talking about Democrats who have so far very successfully advocated for a different way of thinking, a different way of believing and living, and that is that the police are someone who they need to be defunded. They need to be taken out. They need to be treated with derision. They shouldn't be obeyed. If they tell you to, put your hands behind your back or show your hands, you should maybe assume a stance of defiance and, maybe test that police officer out. You should say, I don't want you to shoot me, or call them a racist or spit in their face. All of the protests that we've seen, even the fact that it is now routine, the new people who are perpetrating this are those who are anti-Semites and those who are doing the protests against the nation state of Israel, waging war on Hamas. They block roads, they block highways. People are on the road because they need to go somewhere. Sometimes there are ambulances, sometimes there are parents going to pick up kids. They're being blocked off on these highways and roads, and we're finally seeing arrests. We're finally seeing a move away from allowing this to happen. But that is a disrespect of the police. If the police show up and say, hey, your protest doesn't have a permit for this highway, this is a highway, you can never be permitted to protest here and you need to disperse, and they instead put chains around themselves and chain themselves to each side of the bridge and sit there, that's not civil disobedience. That is rank disobeying of the law and a lawful order that's given to you by the police. So I want to make sure on all of these things that we begin to assess it not from the left right paradigm, but from the what makes sense, what's legal, what's illegal paradigm. Because apparently in 2024, that's the only way we can actually get to the bottom of things. It's very important to me and it's important to you. And so, right after this, we have our first guest coming at you on Now on Salem News Channel. Be right back.